College Football Live.
Continuing the countdown of College Football Live's preseason top 25, Bill Snyder, now the Dean of Coaches in Division 1A at 73 years old. He built the program. He stepped back in to rebuild it, and his team out-toughed so many opponents in close games. They get Colin Klein, the tough quarterback, back. So much depends on his performance and his health. Arthur Brown, part of an active K-State defense. But it was all about surviving. Kansas State able to get past Texas A&M in a marathon game, stop Miami at the goal line. Here's the roundtable of the Cats for 2012.
How could you not admire and respect Kansas State in 2011? Not a whole lot of talent on their roster, and yet they get to 10 wins last year, 8 of those by a touchdown or less. Now they have come back with 14 returning starters this year. Colin Klein, one of the more interesting and exciting quarterbacks in the country. But before we talk about the team, we got to start with Bill Snyder.
Oh, man.
I mean, we all sat there his first tenure as the head coach of Kansas State and just couldn't believe maybe the best turnaround job by any coach in the history of college football. Then he comes back round 2. You saw the team up close a couple years ago when he first got in there. Who would have ever thought that he could have gotten them to 10 wins?
Not me. And the thing I love about Bill Snyder is that he just coaches the fundamentals. It's not necessarily a sexy formula to win games, but they do the things necessary to win games. Look back at last year. They beat Eastern Kentucky by 3 points. They beat Miami on a late goal line stand. They needed a last-second pick to beat RG3 and Baylor. They take 4 overtimes to beat Texas A&M. They beat Texas despite 124 yards of offense. They do great with turnovers. Yep. They're great in the kick return.
All the
they
cliches.
do things you need to do to win games. It's not attractive, but they win.
You know, I'm an old school guy. I'm the type of guy who I get tired of coaches and all these SIDs talking about, well, he doesn't have his guys yet.
Right.
He doesn't have the 4 or 5-star guys yet. Snyder doesn't care about that. He said, listen, I'm going to come into your place. I'm going to come into your restaurant. I'm going to look at the shelf. Whatever you have on that shelf, I'm going to make you one of the best meals you've ever had. He just does it with fundamentals. Guys are disciplined. They don't make mistakes. I love a guy who's just going to go out there and out-scheme his opponent, not making any excuses. I love it. I'm just old school that way.
No, it's good.
I think it's about respect. Guys just instantly respect him. And I know a lot of times we talk about older coaches and whether or not they can relate to younger players. But I think when you talk about college in particular, the guys have to buy in, and guys clearly buy in, and they do pay attention to those details. And when you pay attention to those details, you're going to win some games that you really shouldn't win on paper. You don't necessarily need that talent. If you are getting those fundamentals right, and you're not making the kind of mistakes that cost you games, you can do that. But let's not forget, Colin Klein was, what a year. 40 total touchdowns, 27 rushing touchdowns, and John Hubert, an impressive back. I mean, he had a great game.
Great combination. Those two work well together.
Really.
What are your thoughts there?
And then Nigel Malone, defensively, one of the best cornerbacks in the country.
And Arthur Brown at linebacker.
They've got good players. I think what Snyder did the first time earned him a trip to the College Football Hall of Fame, but this time is equally impressive because he inherited a mess from Ron Prince. I mean, Ron Prince went outside a bunch of JUCO guys. Bill Snyder took him a year to turn it around. I think they got a lot of belief going last year with those early close victories.
But guys, for them to keep it going, they have to get more prolific on offense.
Yeah.
Last year, not a good team throwing the football. Colin Klein's value to this football team, obviously, is as a runner. And you mentioned the 27 touchdowns. That tied a single-season record in the Big 12. That's the most ever in a single season by a quarterback. Completed, I think, 57% of his passes. They need to get better. The good news, 4 top receivers coming back. Chris Harper, Tyler Lockett, a guy that took 2 kicks back as a freshman. Tremendous. Here's my concern with Colin Klein. He carried the football 317 times. Have you ever carried the football 317 times in a season?
No, over like 3 seasons.
Okay. 67 more times than any other player in the Big 12 Conference. Wow. Colin Klein might die at the end of next year. Well, that workload is big. He's the toughest player in college football, no doubt about it. But guys, they got to spread the wealth. They got to throw the football more and be more balanced on offense.
I mean, we say that, and yet by about from week 4 or 5 on, you kind of knew that he or Hubert were going to carry the football. I mean, and you know, he's got bloody elbows, and he can't. I don't know how they get him back in the huddle. And it's like in the fourth quarter, it's like over here, come on, man. I mean, he's just like it's like standing 10 count. But I do think that this team's going to grow. I think they have enough offense coming back, 6 returning offensive players, a lot of their skills back. They got to retool some things up front. But for them to compete, it's kind of like with Tebow and the Broncos last year. It's easy to focus on Colin Klein, but that Broncos defense allowed Tim Tebow to make the plays. Kansas State's defense, you got a couple names there, Malone, Brown. You got a couple guys that play well. You got a couple good pass rushers. But they talk about fundamentals, just playing smart, creating turnovers at the right time. Can they get that again to be able to set up Colin Klein in that offense to be in a position to win games?
I think they have a difference maker at every level, at least. And you guys mentioned Arthur Brown, middle linebacker, and you look at Nigel Moore with 7 picks last year at cornerback. But Meshach Williams, the guy that had 7 sacks a year ago defensive, that D-line is an area of concern for Kansas State. Bill Snyder had to go out and had to recruit, get a lot of JUCOs that he's going to have to plug in right away up front. Guys, not an easy schedule.
No.
Miami at home, on the road at Oklahoma, on the road at West Virginia, Oklahoma State at home, on the road at TCU, at Baylor, at Texas at home.
Yeah.
Not an easy road inside the Big 12 Conference.
May not have 10 wins this season, huh?
That was an uphill battle. You could have a Heisman Trophy candidate.
Right.
Colin Klein, I think, should be considered a Heisman Trophy candidate. Schedule.
This campaign can end real soon, though.
Quick. Yeah.
Real quick.
Cinderella story, maybe one year.
It'll be interesting to see what defenses do differently.
And I think that's where Snyder and his staff come in. They know what the teams are going to be preparing for, and can you get that production out of the passing game from Colin Klein? Can you get him to throw the ball more Tebow-esque? Yes, we know he can run.
Will win 10 games this year. Coach of the year, huh? Yeah. Automatically candidate for Coach of the year.
Not a lot of people inside the state of Kansas talking about Kansas State. Charlie Weiss is the new head coach of Kansas. That's getting a lot of buzz.
That's the way Kansas State likes it.
Bill Snyder is worried his team is going to be complacent next year because of the 10 wins last season. That should not be a concern. They're not going to sneak up on anybody this
For a
year.
guy that carried the ball over 300 times, I mean, they're an ankle turn away or a hamstring away or a groin injury away from literally having no chance of winning games in the Big 12. That's how important Colin Klein is to that football team. We'll see again, round 2 with Colin Klein and Bill Snyder. Can they keep that magic going in 2012?